It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning as we talk about all things housing here in the Low Country. If this is your first time tuning into the program, I'm a real estate agent by trade. I've been doing this for about 10 years, and I share my experiences with you so that if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, or if you just like to stay up to date with the economics of our market and housing-related data, and some experiences and some stories along the way, then this is the show for you. I really believe in informing our consumers so that when it comes time to make one of these important decisions, you have the information you need to be better than the next guy. So if at any point in time you'd like to reach out to me, I'd invite you to do that. You're thinking about maybe buying or selling a home this year, or you're thinking about making an investment into real estate, or you're thinking about getting into real estate, please give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can look at everything I've sold, everything that's on the MLS, search every property for sale in the Charleston area. And of course, learn about me, learn about my team. And if you're thinking about selling your house, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my homes for sale and the success that we've had with that over the past several years. And you can also learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I'll sell your home in less than 2 months. And if I don't, then I'll sell it for half my commission. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to for that information. So let me tell you what I want to talk about over the next hour. I'm going to kind of bounce around this weekend on a few different topics, but there are some things that I think we need to address right now as our market really starts to heat up. And I want to go back and I want to talk about January because we had a phenomenal month. And I want to give you an idea of the good and the bad of our real estate market right now and what's affecting people that need to sell or need to buy a house. So I'm going to talk about that first. A little later on, we're going to talk about flipping houses. What does that environment look like? Obviously, when the housing market is doing very well like it is right now, you have more people that become interested in flipping homes. So we're going to talk about that. Is it the right time to do it? Is it the wrong time to do it? Can you make any money doing it? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about relying on websites like Zillow and so on and so forth to tell you how much your home is worth. I'm going to go into depth on that. And it's a topic that I've talked about a lot on this program over the past several years. I've been doing this for a long time now here on WTMA. So I'm going to give you an idea of what really you need to know if you're a buyer or a seller and you're going to use one of these websites to search for homes or to determine what you think your home is worth. And I'm going to give you some tips and some tricks and some things you probably didn't know about some of these websites. And then lastly, we're going to talk about some of the lessons that I've learned that I want to share with you as a real estate agent that helped people through a very difficult time in their lives. And that was when our market hit the bottom. And so I'm going to give you some financial lessons to live by because we're now at the point now where a majority of Charleston is back to pre-recession levels in terms of pricing and values and some of the behaviors that I'm seeing. And so I want to not necessarily rein people back in, but I want to help them understand what we went through just 10 years ago. So that's what we have planned on this show. Again, if you'd like to reach out to me personally, you want to have a discussion about buying or selling a home, or you just have some general knowledge questions that you'd like for me to answer, give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. So let's go over the stats first in our market. Let me kind of give you an idea of where we are. We've had an incredibly busy and very interesting January. Obviously, we don't have February's numbers out yet. The month isn't done yet. But let's start first with price. Everybody always wants to know what's going on with price. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on this. But what we're going to spend the majority of our time on is the inventory. We've got a serious problem right now with our inventory in our market. I want to talk about that at length. So if you look at January 2015's closings, we were at a median price of $215. Last month, we were at $229. That's about a 7% increase. Now, that's just 1 month worth of data. I don't want you to necessarily think that prices are up 7%. That's not what that number is suggesting. However, we have had more sales. And again, inventory is an issue. If you look at And as a real estate agent, I monitor this stuff all the time. Do it for clients. I do it for people that are thinking about selling, thinking about buying, have their home on the market. We're constantly watching the market to look for opportunities. One thing that I find extremely interesting is the number of new contracts we had in January as opposed to January in 2015. In January of 2015, we had about 14,400 properties go under contract. Last month, we had 17,205. That's a 20% increase in business, which is huge. I want to tell you how much this means, though, because if you look at having an additional almost 300 transactions in January, what does that do to our month's supply of inventory? We as real estate agents use month's supply of inventory to gauge the health of a real estate market, and it helps us determine whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. So the lower the number in months of inventory, the more a seller's market it is. So last month, we had 3.5 months worth of inventory, meaning if no additional properties hit the market, as of today, it would take 3.5 months on average to sell every single home available for sale in the Charleston Tri-County area. Last January 2015, we were over 5 months, which is barely a seller's market. But here's the real issue, and this to me is fascinating, and this happens every time we approach the end of the year and we look at the number of homes available for sale. We know that in October, November, and December, people decide to take their house off the market because it just hasn't sold, and they want to enjoy time with family and friends and not deal with having their home on the market during the holidays. So usually we see a reduction in inventory in the fourth quarter of every year. It's what happens. It's market behavior. Here's the really interesting thing, and I want to have you guys listen closely because this is driving the problems with our market. And I say problems, it's a problem if you're a buyer, but not if you're a seller. But there's some opportunity there, and I'll get to that. So look at this. In 2015, in November, we had 5,900 homes for sale. And then in December, we had 5,257 homes for sale. And then last month, we had 5,017 homes for sale. As of right now, middle of February, we have less than 5,000 homes for sale. Literally 1,000 homes, almost 20% of our inventory has disappeared over the past 3 months. It is not on the market right now. And in addition to that, we had a 300 unit bump in new contracts in January. So the issue is the inventory. Buyers are having a very hard time right now finding good properties to buy. And when they hit the market, they're selling quickly, and they're usually selling in a multiple offer situation if they're priced correctly and if they're in good condition and they're being marketed correctly. But it's very challenging for a buyer right now to find inventory. And, here's something interesting. This just happened a few days ago. I'm working with some folks that sold their house in Carolina Park. They built a beautiful property, about 4,000 square feet. We listed it. We sold it in a few days. Now they're looking to buy something by the end of March, and they're in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. There are currently 70 properties available for sale in Mount Pleasant, and 52 of them are new construction. Hardly anything for them to look at, certainly when you compare it to previous years and the number of properties available for sale. What it does is it takes away that ability for the buyer to say, all right, well, we'll just go right down the street and we'll make that other seller the same offers we made you if you're not going to consider my low offer. Buyers are very rarely in the driver's seat in this market. So having said all of that, now that you have an understanding of the inventory and the fact that we're essentially missing 1,000 houses that were on the market 3 months ago that theoretically should be coming back very soon, buyers right now, especially for us, it's almost like they're dying on the vine. They want to buy something right now. They just can't find what they're looking for. And so we have now, over the past year and a half, 2 years almost, given the fact that inventory has started reducing, we're sending letters to neighborhoods. We're calling an entire neighborhood at a time. We are literally doing everything we can to uncover motivated sellers that don't have their house on the market. And we're building a nice pipeline of people that at some point soon will list their house for sale. So the nice thing for a buyer that decides to work with my team is that we have this pipeline of what I call shadow inventory. All the time, 500, 600, 700 times a month, we have people contact my team looking to buy or sell a house in the Charleston area in all different time frames. It could be next week. It could be 2 years down the road. But obviously, any good real estate company is going to have a database of buyers and sellers that at some point in time will be future business for them. What we've been very successful with over the past year and a half, as inventory has really become an issue, is matching up buyers with sellers and vice versa based on time frames. We'll say, hey, this buyer contacts us. They're moving to Charleston from wherever, and they want to be in before the start of next year's, or the start of school. Let's say that. They want to be in by August, let's say. And we also know that sellers want to move within the next 3 to 6 months. And so we're then going into our database and saying, okay, based on what you're looking for, who do we know that might be selling a house at that point in time so that we can try and connect the dots? And we've done it a lot, even this year, and we're being very successful with it. And I think the reason that we need to take this extra step is because we're all waiting for that inventory to come back on the market. Where were all those people 3 months ago? Where were all the buyers 3 months ago when those homes didn't sell? Well, that's a great question. Some of them were there. They just didn't want to buy what was out there. They were waiting for more inventory to hit the market. But we've taken a step back. We really need to take 2 steps forward and correct this issue of uncovered inventory, sellers that need to sell their house. So I have a very long list of buyers that would literally buy something right now. And I'm not joking about this. This isn't a sales pitch. We have, I would say, well over 70 people looking in all different price ranges in all different areas of the Charleston Tri-County market that would buy something right now if the right property hit the market. So I would encourage you, if you're listening and you're thinking about selling at some point this year, to at least reach out to me and say, hey, Brian, just so you know, here's my time frame. And yes, I would love to earn your business, but if you've got an agent that you're going to list with, that's okay. But I still want to know about those opportunities because we have buyers. And same thing with buyers. We have listings. So if you are in that position, you're thinking about buying or selling a house this year, please contact me. Let me know what your plans are. I might be able to make this incredibly easy for all parties involved and just match you up with a buyer or a seller. So the way to get in contact with me is by calling my cell phone, 843-345-1273, or going to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, and thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and thanks again for those of you that listen to this program on a recurring basis. I always want to take just a brief moment each show to say thank you to those of you that reach out to me that need help, whether it be something simple like, hey, Brian, do you know a good painter? Or, Brian, we're selling our home and we'd like to discuss that with you and understand your marketing a little bit better and what you bring to the table. Anything that I can do to help you real estate related. As I've mentioned, I've been in this business for 10 years, top 1% of agents since 2009, done almost 1,000 transactions here in our market. So would love the opportunity to work with you. My number is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Contact me that way. Learn more about me, what I've sold. Search every home for sale in the MLS. And if you're thinking about selling, click on that Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. You can also learn more about my marketing, learn more about me and what I do in my background, of course. So listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to. So if you're just joining the show, we were talking about the issue that we have right now with this inventory of homes that's essentially disappeared from our market. 3 months ago, we had 1,000 more listings than we do now. And we're actually selling more homes than we were this time last year. So we have this major issue of a lack of inventory. So buyers, if you're listening, contact me so that I can potentially put you in touch with some of the upcoming listings that we have that will list over the next month to 3 months. Some are a little bit further out. And of course, if you're a seller, before you put your house on the market, you might as well contact me and see if I might have a buyer for you right now. Obviously, no promises, but we have a long list of people that want listings and are just waiting around, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for properties to hit the market. So if you're thinking about selling, please contact me, listingsincharleston.com or 843-345-1273. So let's switch gears here, and let's say that you are thinking about selling your house this year, and you go online and you go to Zillow and you click on the Zestimate for your house. By now, I'm sure the majority of you know what Zillow is, Zillow.com. It's a real estate website that allows you to search homes for sale, do some research, whether you're actively looking to buy or sell, or you just want to be nosy and find out how much your neighbor paid for your house or how much your boss paid for your house. There's all kinds of great information on these websites. And I don't want to diss these websites because they're incredibly valuable in most of what they do. But I have always had a extreme issue with the Zillow estimate, the Zestimate, that has become more and more of a thing that sellers tend to rely on as quality information about the value of their house. And so, with all due respect to Zillow, I love them. I market a ton on them. I spend a bunch of money a year on Zillow, and I sell directly from Zillow. I think I probably sold 50 homes over the past 2 years just based on the marketing that I do there. So it works, don't get me wrong, but I don't believe in a website telling you what your house is worth without knowing anything about it. So let me kind of dive into this and tell you a little bit more about this process and why I'm so passionate about it. Let's first just discuss what the Zestimate is. It's an estimated value of your house. It's put together by crafting a complex and ever-evolving series of data models that come from economists and mathematicians and statisticians and computer scientists and so on and so forth. And basically, it's a starting point for the process associated with determining what your home is worth. And so they calculate it by doing a few different things, but basically the recipe involves three things. Number one, the physical attributes of your house, which is sourced by both public and user submitted data. So they'll look at tax records, maybe it was on the market previously, so on and so forth. They're going to aggregate all that data, and then they're going to look at tax assessments and other tax assessor information to verify that. And then they're going to look at past sale records, see if they can pull anything from there. And then they compare that to everything else that has sold around you using a bunch of algorithms, and boom, out pops out the value of your house. Some really important things for you to know. And by the way, it sounds simpler than it is, but it's just a mess. What can I say? It's just a mess. But here's the deal. It has a median error rate of 8%. So plus or minus 8% is a huge deal. If any realtor came into your house and you expected for them to give you an honest opinion of value based on what homes are selling for in your neighborhood, that realtor better be able to get within 8% of your house. That's a big range, folks. I mean, not to boast, my listings sell for 98% of my asking price and in 38 days. There's no magic bullet there. There's no magic recipe. There's no fancy algorithm I use. I just know how to price properties to sell based on the key word here, or the key phrase, what buyers are willing to pay. That's the bottom line. That's what your house is worth. And that's not a very popular thing for real estate agents to say. I understand that because, at the end of the day, I'm a real estate agent. I'm here to earn business. I'm here to help you get the best price that you can for your house, and I can do that. But every agent wants you to think that they can sell your home for more money than the next real estate agent. Sometimes that's true and sometimes that's not. But the bottom line is the buyer is the one that sets the price. The realtor gives you a ballpark based on what everything else is selling for, based on your condition, your upgrades, and your location. So here's the problem with Zillow if you're a seller. Three basic things. Number one, condition. Zillow has no idea what kind of condition your home is in. How in the world can they give you an accurate appraisal if they don't know what kind of condition your home is in? That's an obvious one. Number two, upgrades. The tax assessment information is not going to provide Zillow with the kitchen remodel that you did last year, or the fact that you refinished your hardwood flooring, or the fact that you just spent $10,000 in landscaping. whatever the case might be, Zillow is not going to collect that information unless you, the user, provide them with that information. And that's why, you look at some of these estimates and they are wildly off. Not the plus or minus 8% that they say that they can get you within. I'm talking like way off, like 50% off. I mean, I have a condo that I bought back in 2006 on James Island in Point James, and we went through it all. I mean, we had a special assessment. We had all kinds of stuff going on in that development. I bought it for $140,000 back in 2006. You know what it's worth right now? Probably $60,000. I think last year or the year before, Zillow thought it was worth like $110,000. I wish. But that's part of the issue with this process, is that they don't know what kind of condition your home is in, and they don't know what kind of upgrades you have. Here's the really important thing to know as well. When Zillow uses sales data on comparable sales, what is not published that's accessible for Zillow is two basic things. Number one, any sort of concession that seller provided to the buyer. And number two, any extenuating circumstances that may have driven that price down. So let's use an example of an estate sale where, I bought a property that was an estate sale, and it was the best deal I've ever gotten in my life because a 25-year-old inherited a property downtown, and I was upfront with her because I felt bad about kind of quote unquote taking her money, but I gave her the option and she made her own decisions. She's an adult and she can live with it. But I said, hey, look, I am more than happy to represent you as your agent and help you sell this property for top dollar. The property was a mess. It was a duplex. The entire bottom floor had been gutted like 4 years ago. It cost, I won't tell you the exact number, but it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate the property. But the offer that I made her was so ridiculously low that when she accepted it, I almost had a heart attack, and I'm in my 30s. And it was just a fantastic deal. But let's say that sale gets recorded, which it was in the MLS, and then everybody around that house goes on Zillow, and suddenly the value of their home drops because of that comparable sale. Well, it's not disclosed in Zillow that was an estate sale. The circumstances aren't disclosed. And let's use another option. Let's say that the seller paid all of the buyer's closing costs and a home warranty and a $5,000 flooring credit. Let's say we've got $15,000 worth of concessions on a $250,000, $275,000 house, which at times is not totally unreasonable. Maybe a little bit more, maybe more like $350,000, $400,000. But anyways, Zillow's not going to catch that either. So the home that sold for $250,000 down the street, but they paid, $7,500 in closing costs and did $2,500 in repairs and offered them a $5,000 flooring allowance. That's not accounted for in Zillow, but it has a major impact on what your house would sell for in the open market because real estate agents have access to that information. So it's very challenging if you're a seller to get an accurate number out of Zillow. The problem that we have now created with Zillow, which again, it's a fantastic machine. It serves a very clear purpose. It provides meaningful information to buyers and to sellers. And there's a lot of stuff that they do that I fully agree with. I just don't agree with a website telling you how much your home is worth without knowing anything about it. It would be the same thing as if you wanted to sell your car. And there was this website that tracked every single car that sold comparable to yours, except for the fact that the website didn't differentiate between the cars that were fully loaded and the cars that came just stock, no upgrades whatsoever. Obviously, a car that's fully loaded is going to sell for more than a car that just had basic features. But if the website's not catching that, how can you rely on that website's valuation when going to sell a large asset, especially something like a house? So here's what I want to say about this. And I do want to say a few things more, and I'm going to spill over into the next segment about this just because, my God, I just get this. I get this objection so much. So many people want to know why Zestimate thinks it's worth more than I think it's worth. Or why is their tax appraisal worth more than what I'm telling them their house is worth? It's very challenging in a seller's market to kind of rein sellers in at times because they see all these homes selling and they see their neighbor down the street overpricing their listing, sometimes by as much as 10, 20%. And then they say, oh, well, my house is nicer than theirs, so I'm going to list mine for more than theirs. So then their house is overpriced, and overpriced listings perpetuate overpriced listings. And the point I'm trying to make is that you need to rely on somebody to provide you with factual information that understands the market, the trends within it, and can ultimately set a price that will get your home sold. And we haven't even talked about the marketing or the experience and everything else that goes into selling a home for top dollar. I'll do that some other time. But what I want you to understand, if you're listening and you use Zillow, continue to use it. It's a great site. Just don't put a lot of stock in the Zestimate, because 99 times out of 100, it's more than 10% off. That's my guess. And I've looked at a bunch of these. I mean, again, I've done about 1,000 transactions in my career. And as Zillow has emerged as this source of information for people, it's becoming a more common objection the more people start to use websites like this. So just be careful. Make sure the information you're using is reliable, because at the end of the day, you need that information to be something you can trust in, to make some realistic expectations and set some realistic goals for yourself for either buying or selling real estate. And that's what I'm here to help you do. So if you'd like to contact me, you want to know what your house is worth, no cost, no obligation, I'll give you a market analysis. I do it all the time for people. It's a helpful way of understanding where they are right now and maybe what point they need to get to should they decide to sell at some point in the future. So feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. We're going to take another break, Charleston. We'll be right back with more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. WTMA. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back as the Brian Beatty Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks again for tuning in. We've already talked about a lot this morning. We've talked about the case of the 1,000 missing houses from our market. Basically, in November of last year, we had a little under 6,000 homes available for sale. And now we have a little under 5,000 homes for sale. We've seen almost a 20% decrease in our inventory, and sales and pending contracts are up compared to January of last year. So very challenging market if you're a buyer looking for a property to buy. There's just not a lot out there. So sellers, if you're listening, I'm not entirely sure what you're waiting for if you want to sell right now. I can't urge you enough to beat your competition to the punch and list now rather than in that April-May timeframe when everybody coaches you to list, because that's when everybody else is going to hit the market. You have got an opportunity right now as a seller to list your home for sale and reap the benefits of having all of these buyers essentially waiting on the sidelines for the right home to hit the market. And we need inventory to sell to buyers in order for this market to continue to plug along. New construction's trying to catch up. They're still lagging. So again, if you're a seller, I would invite you to contact me. I might have a buyer looking for what you're selling right now. Or if you're not looking at selling right now, I of course have buyers that are looking to move here in 3, 6, 9, 12, over a year. Let's see if there's an opportunity for us to match up your needs with one of the buyer's needs and just make this really easy on everybody. We've done it a lot already in this year over the past, 6 weeks. I think we've already done 5 of those. So anything that we can do to help you out real estate related, that's what I'm here for, in addition to providing you with my experiences on this program so that you're more informed when it comes to making decisions in housing. But feel free to contact me. My number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about me, what I do to sell real estate, my experience. You can search the MLS for every home for sale. And if you're thinking about selling, again, click on that Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about what I do to market my homes for sale. And of course, you can learn more about my 59-day home sale guarantee. Essentially, I'll sell your home in less than 2 months, or I'll sell it for half my commission. So I want to talk about flipping houses for a few minutes here. It's something that we're starting to see more and more of as the market gets better. Basically, house flipping is always hottest when home prices are getting close to a peak. And I don't think it's going to be much of a surprise to some of you that in some areas of Charleston, our pricing is starting to plateau. We've had double-digit increases in pricing in several areas of Charleston for several years in a row. In fact, I was looking at a statistic that said in Upper Mount Pleasant, the median price has gone up 29%, I believe was the statistic, since 2011. 29%. That's pretty darn big. So one of the issues that we always have in a market like this, where there's not a lot of inventory, is where do we find these good deals to go out and to flip? And does it even make sense? Can we get a good enough deal on a property right now to buy it right so that after the money that we spend to fix it up and improve the property, there's enough of a profit at the end of it to make the risk reward worth it? And that's the biggest problem in this market. You know, everybody always wants to target the distressed inventory. And it makes sense if you're an investor to look at every short sale and foreclosure opportunity that hits the market to determine, you know, what kind of condition it's in, what can you do to improve the property and increase its value, and at what return on investment will that create for you. But here's something interesting about distress sales in the Charleston area. This is the Charleston metro area. In 2011, 29% of all transactions were in distress, short sales and foreclosures. In 2012, it went down to 26%. In 2013, it was 18%. 2014, 12.5%. And then last year, 7.5% of all sales in the Charleston metro area were in distress, short sales and foreclosures. There's very few of them out there. And here's what I'm finding. A lot of these banks don't necessarily want to give you that great deal like they were willing to give you a few years ago. Yes, they want that property off their books. They are not in the business of owning real estate. They don't want the property, but they do want the most amount of money they can sell it for. And so in this market, with the trends that we're seeing right now, banks want very darn close to what that house is worth. You're just not able to get that 10, 15, 20 plus contract amount under list price, under fair market value. It's just very hard to do right now, even with these banks. So where do you go to find the deals? Well, if you're not a full-time investor and you're not sending out letters to neighborhoods and you don't have advertisements and you're not, you know, We Buy Ugly Homes or, some of these other large flipping companies out there, then you're going to have to use some creative measures to uncover inventory, and you're going to have to time it right so that you find that seller that has to sell their house and is willing to entertain an offer from an investor that will inevitably make them an offer that's less than what it's worth. And that's the whole point. So one of the things that I've found to be incredibly useful for investors is just to keep them up to date on the listings that I have coming up. First of all, if I don't know you're an investor, then I can't look at properties for you. So if you're looking to invest in real estate, at least let me know. You don't have to be very specific, but just say, hey, Brian, here's where I focus. This is what I'm looking for. This is how much I have to spend. And then from there, we'll have a discussion that's much more in depth about, what your background is and what sort of return on investment is required in order for you to do this, so on and so forth. I mean, I have done so much of this stuff over the past several years that it's actually a lot of fun to coach people through the process. And it's also very interesting to understand how much people don't know about the business. They just know that, hey, they've got some money. They want to put it in real estate because they see prices going up. You want to make sure that you have an agent that understands what's going on. And I have to tell you, one of the most important things about flipping a house happens before you make the offer. One of the most important things that you need to understand is what that house is going to sell for realistically after you make the improvements, because that's where you judge everything off of. That's where you get your return on investment number. If the number that you set is unrealistic, then that's the difference between it being a flip or a flop. And I know that you watch those shows on HGTV just like I do, and they're a lot of fun to watch, but it's real when it's your money, folks, and it's not a game where you go in there with limited knowledge and just start throwing money at something. There are all kinds of ways to save money when flipping a house, but there are several more ways to lose money when flipping a house. And so one of the most important things you need to understand is what that house will realistically sell for once you've done the improvements to determine whether or not the risk is worth the reward. So again, going back to how we find these good deals, if you're a buyer or an investor and you're looking at purchasing something, we don't always have a list of distressed sellers. Those go almost immediately because we farm them out to different people looking in different areas with different return on investment requirements. And once I send those out, they're pretty much gone. And some of the times we're not even getting the deal. One of the big things that we need to know in this market, if you're an investor, is what I call the speed to the lead. I use it in my company and I say it to my employees every single day. The speed to the lead. The early bird gets the worm. There's a bunch of different ways you can say it. But if you're an investor and you see a good deal and you want to know more information about it, you have got to do everything you can and be as prepared as possible to make a fast decision on that property. Because if you don't, I can almost guarantee you somebody else will. And that in and of itself is the major problem that investors have right now, is just getting to the deal first. Because once you get other people involved, they're going to start chipping away at their required return on investment just for the sake of getting a deal done. And that's a dangerous arena to play in because you're compromising profit just for the sake of flipping a house. It's not a good idea. So if you'd like more information on that, I have done a bunch of these. I mean, I was the exclusive realtor for a guy that was flipping 300 homes a year out of Vegas. I understand it well. I can walk you through the process. Feel free to contact me. I'm just here to help. 843-345-1273 or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. And don't forget, if you're a seller, whether you need to sell your house now or you're looking at selling your home at some point in the future, whether you're willing to sell it for less for an immediate offer or you want to get the most money you can for your house, feel free to contact me. I'd love to see if I have a buyer for your house. I'm really trying to do my buyer agents a favor this weekend, if you can't tell, because we are struggling to find inventory for folks that are ready, willing, and able to buy. So if you want to sell your house, at least send me your information so that I can see if I can put a buyer in your hands. My number, 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We've got one more segment right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA. WTMA. Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the final minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Always a pleasure to be on the radio with you guys and share my experiences, what I'm engaging in right now with buyers and sellers and investors, what I'm seeing as being some trends in our market, sharing some stories with you guys so that if you're thinking about doing something real estate related or you just want to stay up to date with housing in general, since it's such a major function of our daily lives, this is the show for you. This is where you go to get informed. If at any point in time I can help you with a real estate need, whether it be something as simple as a list of contractors to something as complicated as buying, selling, investing, whatever the case might be, I'd love to help you through it. My number, if you want to have a private conversation with me, my cell phone, 843-345-1273. Again, that's 345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. You can search everything that I've done in real estate for the most part, I think is on that website now. We just redid it. It looks pretty cool if I do say so myself. You can learn more about my team. Of course, if you're thinking about selling, click on the Sell Your Home tab. You can learn more about my marketing and, of course, my 59-day home sale guarantee. And we've been talking a lot in this show about the idea of selling or buying a home at some point in the future, and that I might be able to help connect the dots between someone that needs to sell their house and someone that wants to buy a house. We've had a lot of people contact us recently that want to do something in real estate, and they're just waiting for the right opportunity. So if you're thinking about selling, let me know. I'll see if I have a buyer for you right now. Never hurts to ask. And of course, no cost, no obligation to have a conversation. So let me talk about something that is very passionate and near and dear to my heart. And that is just being conservative in this market. I think there is certainly an opportunity to take advantage of the real estate market in certain ways for your financial benefit. But I also spend a lot of time coaching my clients on making informed decisions, realistic decisions, helping them understand what's actually happening in the market right now and how that may have differed from a few years ago. At the end of the day, my job is to make sure that this is as I never say stress-free, because there's no such thing as a stress-free real estate transaction. Let's just be honest. As little stress as possible, but I want you to make as much money as you can. I want to do it in as convenient an amount of time as you believe to be a convenient amount of time. I'm not necessarily here to be one of those guys that says, hey, I'll sell your home in less than a month, or it's free, and I'll still do all the hard work as if I'm not getting paid. And I don't know if that's true or not. But the bottom line is your timeline, your goals are your goals. I'm here to accomplish them for you and help you through that process based on what I'm experiencing in the market as someone that's done this about 1,000 times. So one thing that I really coach some people on, especially the first-time home buyers and the first-time home sellers, are just some of the things that I learned in helping bail out a ton of people that were in bad situations financially as it relates to real estate. A ton of people in short sales, a ton of people above water. It was just a different time. You go to a seller's house, and this was happening several times a week, and you'd get at least one person a week that would cry because they're just so upset at the financial mess they're in because of the housing bubble that burst, and they feel powerless, and there's nothing that they can do about it. And so I help them get out of those situations strategically and to their financial benefit, but it was never easy. It was never stress-free. And I picked up a lot of good lessons along the way. And one of the first ones is that not every house that you buy is a good investment. Buying a house isn't always a good investment. You have to have a good understanding of your time frame, the motivation behind buying. And, an example would be somebody that's moving here and they're here on a job, and that job is temporary. And chances are fairly high that their company will relocate them within a year or two to somewhere else to do some other job. Think of all the people that built a bridge here as being a good example of that. It might not necessarily be within your best interest to buy a house. You have to look at all the factors. Now, of course, you have to have a goal and you have to have some plans in mind, and all those plans are subject to change. You never know what could happen. You could lose your job. You could get divorced. You could have a death in the family. You could have all those things that are unforeseen circumstances that cause you to sell. And that's unfortunate. And there's just not much you can do about that. You just react the best you can. But I'm talking about creating a strategy that makes sense in terms of buying a house. So that's number one. Just make sure that this is the right decision. Don't buy just to buy. Sometimes it's nice to rent. And that sounds kind of crazy coming from a realtor who feeds his family by helping people buy and sell homes. But sometimes people just need to rent a house for 6 months and reassess. They're just not ready to own a home. And part of the reason is, number two, they just don't have enough money saved up. They don't have that emergency fund. I was a Dave Ramsey ELP for a long time before they basically started taking half the commission to help people. And I never necessarily minded that. But the point is, I fully subscribe to almost all of what Dave Ramsey says. And having an emergency fund is so incredibly important if you're going to buy a house, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. I mean, we had my brother's younger friend. I mean, he's 22 years old. He wants to buy a house, and we're looking at his budget with the lender. And yes, he can buy a house, but he's going to have about 2 months worth of savings. And if anything goes wrong in that house, he can't pay for it. He's screwed. So we decided that, hey, you know what? I think you need to save up some more money. You need to be better protected financially, and then let's reassess. Number three, beware of risky mortgages. We're not seeing the no doc, no income, no asset, or stated income, stated asset loans like we were. And that environment certainly isn't like it was in 2005, 6, so on and so forth. But you're starting to see a lot of adjustable rate mortgages. You're starting to see interest-only mortgages as being attractive options for people. Just be careful. Just remember that rates are only going to adjust in one direction, and that is up. Number four, buy what makes you feel comfortable, not necessarily what you qualify for. This is just kind of to the point. Assess what the payment you're comfortable with is on a monthly basis, and then use that to buy your house. Don't necessarily say, how much can I afford, and let's max this baby out. I don't necessarily suggest that, but certain times call for it. And then number five, just kind of a blanket statement, and that is that home ownership is not for everybody. There's a lot of stuff that goes into home ownership or buying investment properties or rental properties. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially for people that haven't been through this process before, to spend some time with an agent that is going to educate them on the process. We spend a lot of time doing that, and it doesn't have to be first-time home buyers or home sellers. It's people that have done this 10, 20, 30 times. There's always an education that you can obtain from a real estate agent that's doing 100-plus transactions a year in a market to help you understand how to better prepare for things. So, I'm out of time. If there's anything I can do for you, please give me a call, 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com, to learn more about that 59-day home sale guarantee. And contact me if you're thinking about buying or selling so I can try and match you up with either a buyer or a seller for your home. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. Enjoy your weekend.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.